Imagine this. The entire country votes at the same time. One election, one campaign cycle, one massive national voting process. No repeated elections every few months. No constant political campaigning. No repeated model code restrictions. This idea is now at the center of one of India's biggest constitutional debates. One nation, one election. And the discussion is becoming highly explosive politically, because supporters call it a historic reform, while critics call it dangerous for federal democracy. So what exactly is this proposal? Right now in India, Lok Sabha elections and state assembly elections happen separately. That means different states vote at different times. Almost every few months, some election is happening somewhere in the country. Now the government argues this creates major problems. Huge election expenses, frequent political campaigning, administrative pressure, deployment of security forces again and again, and policy slowdowns because of repeated model code of conduct restrictions. Supporters believe synchronized elections could reduce costs, improve governance efficiency, and allow governments to focus more on development instead of non-stop campaigning. And that sounds attractive to many people. But then comes the bigger question. How would this actually work? Because governments sometimes collapse early. Coalitions break. Chief ministers resign. Assemblies dissolve unexpectedly. So if one state government falls in the middle of the cycle, what happens then? Would that state remain under president's rule? Would elections happen temporarily? Would governments get shortened terms? And this is where the constitutional debate becomes extremely serious. Because implementing one nation, one election would likely require major constitutional amendments. And not just one. Multiple constitutional provisions may need changes. That's why legal experts, political parties, and constitutional scholars are deeply divided. Supporters say, India needs political stability and governance efficiency. Critics respond, India is a federal democracy, not a centralized election machine. Opposition parties especially fear that simultaneous elections could shift focus heavily toward national issues, making regional voices weaker during campaigns. Smaller parties worry that national narratives may dominate local governance concerns. And this is exactly why the debate becomes emotionally and politically charged. Because it is not just about elections. It is about the structure of Indian democracy itself. Should India move toward synchronized governance cycles? Or does frequent voting actually strengthen democratic accountability? That is the real argument underneath the headlines. And politically, the issue guarantees massive polarization. Because every side frames the debate differently. One side calls it reform. Another side calls it concentration of power. One side says it's